This is the 31st Lap Podcast, recorded live in the studios of FingerLakes1.com in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now, your hosts, Rich Post, John Bonus, Mike Mallet, and Chris Marquardt.
There's Rich for you. I'm still trying to get this camera straightened out because I couldn't get this computer to work right.
So you're figuring that. Whoa,
man.
Hello.
Hey, got all sorts of stuff going on.
Welcome
tonight.
back with that thing.
Yeah, right.
You're over there fidgeting with that, and you're making these poor people look at me.
I know. Yeah, they're enjoying it too. There
and
we
now
go.
Listen to me.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Good day. Depends on how you're listening to us. This is episode number 72 of the 31st Lap. Good evening. Welcome. Rich Post, as I alluded to, is joining us in studio tonight. We're going to be catching up with Peter Britten, who just confirmed he's going to be around. He gave me the official no worries text, so we know that that's
solid.
in. And we'll be catching up with Mat Williamson a little bit later on, catching up with those guys to talk about the opening of the DIRTcar 358 Modified Super DIRTcar Series at Cornwall, Ontario, Canada on Sunday, and then at Merrittville Monday night. Rich, how was your week? I mean,
good.
This is a big week for you. You're all done with school.
Done.
So far.
No mas.
No
mas. Not until September. Thank God.
Right.
I've had about enough of, reading because it hurts my head.
Can't argue with that, I suppose.
No, this is a good week.
Oh, man. The gain on that's way through the roof.
Yeah, somebody doesn't
How
like
about
me
that?
over there.
Hey,
Is that? Oh, no.
We're going to have to call
Maybe
that
farther away?
Yeah, probably.
That'll work.
It's funny. We go through the mic checks, and then it's like we didn't bother.
Yeah, it's all right.
All the levels look good.
What's new? How was your trip south?
Well, we had the trip south. Yeah, that was good. We got to make a quick mention, something that I neglected to do last week that I promised him that I would do. So I'm going to do it now to get that obligation satisfied. Brian Sipple's got a big compact derby coming up Saturday night at Canadian Motorsports Park. Word is that Shane Andrews again has a car reserved, so we'll see if he's going to announce from the cockpit of a derby car. Yeah, Saturday we went down to the Rumble at the Rock, a Mangled Metal Productions show at the Rockingham County Fairgrounds in Harrisonburg, Virginia, and it was cool. Mike Klinger got the win. Got some cool footage from down there. The in-cars worked out great. Craziest thing I think I've ever seen was the guy that wrecked a 1972 Challenger SE, and he said it was a rot box because it had got a quarter-size hole on the fender, and they used the parts out of it to finish two other Challengers, so they had to get rid of it somehow, and that was their logic.
Somebody should have kicked him in the nuts.
He did. They did, metaphorically. It was a 1985 Lincoln Grand Marquis that put the bumper up to the window.
Nice. Well, that works, too.
It ruined it.
If you're going to wreck it.
Pretty sufficiently. Speaking of wrecks, this episode of the 31st Lap brought to you by Full Throttle, powered by Full Throttle, and by Dodge Motorsports. Dodge helped keep me safe Wednesday in front of the Walmart in Masson on Route 31 when I stopped for the red light, and the young lad behind me did not and took his S10 and went right through the back end of my Avenger. So that was cool. If anybody knows anything about straightening frame rails, I'd be welcome the conversation because the brackets, and I know it's a unibody car. There's a rail there, though, and that's all bent all over which way. I think there's 3 bends in about an 1.5 inch span, so not sure what we're going to do with that yet. But everybody's
hope and
okay.
pray they don't just pull it.
Yeah. Rip.
Total.
Yeah, I don't want that to happen, though. I really like this car. The last
time for another one.
You know how I got the Avenger? Was when I wrecked the Magnum.
Yeah.
You know how I got that Magnum?
Because you wrecked the one, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a trend. And I'm
that's all right. You're due.
This is the second. I'm not due. Don't do that. You know how many people have told me that I'm due? This is the same Avenger that the deer shoulder blocked the front end right off of. So, I mean, at least now we're even. We're going to have a new front and a new back.
That'll work. Balance things out a little.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was looking for was balance.
It's going to look like, one of the Cup cars from last year running down the road, but
yeah.
That's cocked off sideways, but as long as it goes, you'll be good.
It does it does appear to be straight. I don't think it got that far into it, but the way that the back bar went down and then the bracket broke down and then the rear rail-ish thing collapsed, and it looks pretty twisted.
It's a hot mess.
Yeah. It's pretty accurate.
Nice. How'd the S10 look?
He had to pull his bumper off of his right front wheel, and he's good. The poor guy, I felt bad for him. I really did, because he just got that. He paid like $750 for this 1998 S10. So, I mean, he's out nothing. I mean, it doesn't matter what it doesn't matter what happens at this point. He's out nothing. He's got to put a bumper cover on it, and he's good to go. And a crowbar will fix that thing, no problem.
Crowbar, crescent wrench, and some duct tape.
Yeah, I don't think he's got anything to worry about. I really don't. His mom's oh boy, what? I don't know. Whatever.
It is what it is.
Trying to make sense of this stuff, but it just seems like our levels are really low. Is it quiet to you?
No.
Our live chat is dead. There's 7 viewers in there, but nobody's saying anything in there.
Liven them up a little.
Yeah.
Say something controversial.
Like what?
Yeah, I don't know. Make something up.
I don't know.
Do what everybody else does. Just make up a bold-faced lie.
Did you hear Brett Hearn lost his ride?
There you go.
That what you had in mind?
Something along those lines, yeah.
No, Brett Hearn did not lose his ride.
No, but let's see what happens in the chat room here in a second.
Yeah. Kimmy, I'm surprised Kimmy's not in there. She was all excited. Pete Britten going to be on the show a little bit later on, getting all ramped up for the activities coming up over the border. Now, I got all sorts of questions for him about just the logistics of coming from Australia to the United States and then from there getting into Canada to compete.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's got to be an interesting mess right there unto itself. This is a guest that a lot of people have been asking about. They want us to get him on here, so I'm excited that Julia Foy once again was able to help coordinate all that and get that stuff put together.
Which is fantastic. It's
yeah.
wonderful to have that kind of help.
It's nice to have somebody in your corner like that. That is cool. And she said that she's actually going to try and listen to the show live this week.
Nice. An added listener.
We'll find out.
Is she the one in there?
There's 7 in there now, but just nobody's. Toby Hara. Toby Hara is saying everything sounds good. That's cool.
Well, that's good to hear. Because it doesn't sound good in my ears. But as long as you guys hear it. Hopefully Troyer Sipple is sitting at home listening
he'll
tonight.
Be on there. They his dad Brian has already sent me a text message. He's got a question for Peter. He wants to know if they have derbies in Australia.
Well, that's better than some of the questions we could give him.
Well, yeah. Wallaby what?
Exactly.
Oh, Troyer's dad. Looks like Troyer's at a ball game unless they're listening by phone. So Troyer's dad, Brian, is in the live chat. Good to see him. Once again, he's got that show coming up Saturday. It should be a good time. And if you win that and you turn around and win August 20th at Fulton Speedway, you get a $300 bonus, I believe is what it is. So
solid.
Kind of cool, yeah, to pull that double up. Yeah, and there's plenty of time in between to get another compact car together.
Absolutely. And it's always a good demo. I don't know if I've seen a bad demo, I guess. Time you get to wreck something.
That's right. How was Canandaigua? I mean, how great was racing over there? Huh?
It was how do you say, a little controversial, so to speak. To be honest with you, I really don't think it was that controversial.
Fabrication?
I don't know if it was fabrication. It's just a matter of two different sides of a coin. Depends on what perspective you're looking at it from. But a lot of people were upset with Matt Shepard a little bit for what appeared to be contact that some people deemed maybe not necessary, and other people say racing deal.
Those two guys were running side by side, coming up on lap traffic that was running side by side.
But there was two. Shepard ducked under Hare's coming out of 2. He was well ahead of him, and Hare's shot out of a cannon coming off the top side and just run down the backstretch wall. And right before that Jersey barrier ends on the backstretch, Matt had moved up and just kind of clipped him. But Matt and Justin were having discussions like nothing happened when they got to the tech center there. So obviously there was no issue with that, and there's no way that Matt could have seen him there. And then, the deal with Danny Johnson, I think that was a racing deal. And, as always.
So do the folks in live chat. He said the same thing. Those exact words, racing deal.
Yeah, as always, the doctor stayed in the throttle. I mean, he drives hard. And Matt got under him. They were in traffic. And Matt moved to the outside, and the doc had actually made it back to that point. And, again, it was, rear quarter to front end. So who's wrong? It's kind of the guy behind you in that shape. So a racing deal. It was, by any account, fantastic racing. I mean, that's what you go for. That's what you're a fan of racing for, is to see racing just like that.
Right. We had all sorts of good comments after last week's show. I mean, having having Ray Hendershot on the show and the stories that he was able to share, we got a show idea that we want to do. It's going to give pretty much everybody a night off.
Solid.
We want, yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of the guys that travel, it doesn't really bother me. I mean, I only live a couple blocks away. It's not that big of a deal. But for you guys that are coming from a long ways away, what we want to do is we want to get some of the folks that rate Amy's, Chuck Siprich, Johnny Podolak, and Ray.
Sit him down
here
for a little round table.
Yeah, this was actually Dean Reynolds' idea, and I have no problem crediting him with this idea.
It's a great idea.
And Dean wants to come out and moderate it with me and have those guys here and just every now and again toss a question out there and let them talk.
Sit
and let
back,
them tell
shut
their
up.
stories. Yeah, just be a fly on the wall for a while. Just dance puppets a little bit and let it go. And it's something that we want to do.
That's a great idea.
I mean, the stories that we got from Ray were so awesome, and I don't know if we can start a grassroots movement just to keep him in the in that division, because I mean that story that he told about, he's only there to do what he's doing. I mean, can you just let him run and second place gets the win or something like that? You know, because that was
no kidding. It's a great story. I stood there and watched him go out and win that race, and he gets into victory lane and kind of just lets it all out, and it's great to see people like that in racing for the reason they're in racing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the reason that class got started. You know, Dean told me on the phone when I was talking to him last Thursday afterward. I called to get his thoughts on what he thought of Ray and our conversation and things along those lines, or Roy, as Jay liked to call him. Jay, my heart goes out to Jay. His car broke down in Ithaca today. That's why he couldn't get up here. So his car's still down there. He's waiting to get it out of the city so that he can get it put back together.
And he's walking uphill any direction he goes at there.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah,
doesn't matter.
He's in a bad way right now. I gave him some phone numbers and wished him the best of luck, and then I shut my phone off.
You would.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'd probably do the same thing.
It's just how I'm living. But I lost my train of thought there. But the comments and everything like that, just the stuff that he was able to share, I couldn't get enough, and I didn't want to stop talking to him. You know, just the stuff that he was going over.
Could have gone on for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. So that's one of the reasons why we want to try and have that almost I don't know, like a racers round table, so to say.
You've seen it in the past with old NASCAR Cup guys. They get Bobby Allison.
Former NASCAR Cup. Don't call him old.
Yeah. Point made. Because most of them could probably still whip my ass. So, I've seen that with, Richard Petty and Waltrip and, Allison. And I've seen them do a lot of those shows, and they always work out well. Always.
Can't go wrong. I mean, I would love to do it. It's something that we're definitely going to look into doing and try and put together, because that's something that, I mean, just you guys are going to be fortunate enough to be able to sit home and watch it. I mean, by all means, you're welcome to come. I just don't know where I'm going to put you.
No, you know how I like time off.
Hey, I know how you like gas.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that Jeep purchase. Yeah. Thinking about that one twice now.
Yeah, that seems like a good decision, right?
Made that choice a little prematurely.
Yeah. Looks like we're just about ready to grab Peter. We're going to get him on the line if we want to do that, or we can do results if you want to do that first. It's up to you. What do you want to do? What do you think?
Let's do a quick results.
Some quick results. We haven't been doing it the last couple of weeks. We've been so busy. Now we got a little bit of time.
We got plenty of time.
Yeah, we got.
There's a few less talking heads in here.
Yeah, that's no lie. Over at Eckerd Speedway Modifieds, Jeff Hetzler picked up the win. Airborne with a modified division, that's George Foley. Mark Johnson picks up the win over at the Albany Saratoga Speedway. All-Star Sprints at Sarver and at Mercer both rained out. Can't believe all the rainouts that we ended up getting subject to last week. It was crazy. Brockville, Ontario Speedway, Brian McDonald won the small block feature out there. Matt Shepard, as we alluded to, picked up the win over at Canandaigua Motorsports Park. That's his second of the season. Rain everywhere. Clinton County, Chemung, Delaware International, Dog Hollow. Everybody rained out that direction. Erie's rained out. Chris Rabby picked up the win over at Evans Mills, 5 Mile Point, Fonda, both canceled by rain. Fulton, Chad Phelps picked up the win. He made a phone call up to Billy Colton at Troyer. And I'll fix that camera for everybody at home. Made a phone call up to Billy Colton at Troyer and got some tip, and boy, did it work out good for him. He was able to outrun the field over at Fulton Speedway. Andrew Mullins won Georgetown. Glen Ridge, it was Bobby Varon. Rick Singleton won at Heston Speedway in Pennsylvania. Lebanon Valley rained out. Lincoln, the 410s. Brent Marks picked up the win. The 358 sprints was Chase Dietz. Lucas Oil Late Model Series. Hartford rained out. Brady Smith picked up the win over in LaSalle, Illinois. Eric Rudolph won Merrittville, Ontario's 358 Modified Division. Brian DeFabro won at Mountain Speedway in Pennsylvania. NASCAR Action Sprint Cup Series went to Matt Kenseth on Saturday night. Nationwide Series, win went to Kyle Busch. Let's see, what else have we got there? It was a busy week. Oh, yeah, this is for everybody at home that hates NHRA. Antron Brown won the Top Fuel. Johnny Gray and Funny Car. Mike Edwards and Pro Stock, so there. Davey Hamilton, impressive race over there at the Oswego Speedway. Picked up his second career win at the Oswego Speedway. Good for Davey, former IndyCar regular. Brian Howland won the Patriot Sprints event over at Woodhull. Last week we had a chance to catch up with Scotty Kruder. Brian Howland ends up takes the win and spoils the weekend for the shooter, Scott Kruder. Port Royal, Blaine Heimbach won the 410s. Tim Wilson in the late models. Riverhead rained out. Chris Donnelly won the event up at Legion, New Hampshire, SC1. Skyline was Ryan Jordan. Stafford, the SK Modifieds was Ryan Priest. Late models was Adam Gray. Susquehanna, Pennsylvania. Sunday they had the 410 program. Danny Dietrich won the 410 race. Thunder Mountain rained out. URC Sprints at Bedford rained out. Sealands Grove, J.J. Grasso won that. USAC Sprints, Kevin Thomas won at Hobstadt. Utica Rome, Stu Friesen picked up the win in the modified division. Williams Grove rained out. I thought there was some action over at Spencer. No, they rained out their practice session, and they ended up doing that on Sunday. World of Outlaw Sprint Cars. Tim Kading won in Elko, Minnesota, and Knoxville went to Donnie Schatz. Joining us on the line now, the one, the only, the wonderful Peter Britten. Pete, thanks for joining us on the line tonight.
No worries. It's good to be here.
Well, we appreciate you making time for us. I know you got a lot going on trying to get that car ready for the 358 Tour opener up at Cornwall, and then the next night over there in Merrittville.
We got a pretty busy weekend. We got our normal weekly racing tracks at Albany, Saratoga, and Canandaigua. That's Friday, Saturday deal. And, I'm really looking forward to heading up to Cornwall on Sunday. Just got a new ERD motor, and as all the builders tell you, it's really good, really strong motor. So I'm really looking forward to getting out there. We're putting the finishing touches on the car now, and hopefully we can go out there and have a good run.
What's it like to run a track like Cornwall after you spend as much time you do at someplace like Canandaigua?
It's kind of in a way it's back to my roots, because all the racing I do back in Australia, it's all on quarter mile stuff. So, the size of Cornwall is very familiar to me. But, we don't really have any tracks that have got the banking that Cornwall does. And then Cornwall's pretty high banked for what we normally run on. But, you race so many different places these days, on the series. And, with my racing back in Australia, you kind of get used to going to different places. And, that's one of the good things about running the Super DIRTcar Series, is it makes you better as a driver. And, you can go to a place that you haven't really been to that often. And normally, as soon as you go out the racetrack, you're up there in the time straight away. There's no real adjustment period. So, obviously, the more laps you can do at a certain track, the better. But, it's kind of, it's just another racetrack. It's made out of dirt. You turn left. So, get out there and get it done.
Being that you're from Australia, is there any challenges to coming to the United States to race, and then from there having to jump the border into Canada and being able to smoothly get across the border?
I think the border for me is probably just as much as a problem as what it is for most other teams. I don't think they really pick on me at all just because I'm Australian. It's just, the deal. It's kind of just, you get to the border and you hopefully the customs officer that you're dealing with hasn't had a bad day, because if they've had a bad day, they can make your life pretty miserable pretty quickly. But, it's for the most part, knock on wood, we haven't had too much of a problem, and Yeah, it's always a bit of a concern, especially going to the racetrack, because you don't want to be late, and if the board is really backed up, sometimes it's a couple of hours late. That's the last thing you want. Heading to a race. Heading home really doesn't concern me that much, because I know one way or another they're going to let us back into the country, and we may have to sit there for a couple of hours, but at least we're not going to be running late for anything. So it's always a little bit of a worry, but. It's just one of them things. It's just part of racing in Canada.
I'm not going to bore you with all of the boxing kangaroo nonsense, but I did wonder after our conversation earlier this week, when you're racing at home in Australia and you've got United States or drivers from other countries coming and driving at your quarter-mile tracks, do the media or the announcers or anything like that make as much of a to-do about those drivers being there and competing as the media and the announcers and folks like that have done with you in the United States and in New York?
Yeah, definitely. It's anytime you get someone from out of town or a different country, it's always something interesting and something different to promote for racetracks, and it kind of makes the race a little bit interesting. I mean, there's been a pretty long rivalry with Australians and Americans, in numerous amounts of sports. Obviously friendly rivalries, but we all like to get the one up on each other. So, sprint car drivers have been coming to Australia for a long time now, and even in the modifieds, there's been a lot of like Tim Fuller has come to Australia, Gary Tompkins, Jimmy Phelps, the late model stuff. Steve Francis has been over a few times, and a few other drivers too. So there's always that little bit of rivalry between the Australians and the USA guys, especially when they come over to Australia. So it's probably in Australia they play up more of the Australia versus USA sort of deal a bit more, but whereas over here it's just kind of a it's more of a talking point than anything really. But it's definitely cool to, especially for me when I was, just starting to get into racing modifieds a couple of years ago back home. I got to race against Gary Tompkins and Jimmy Phelps, and it's good to, kind of opens your eyes, because at that stage I haven't really come over to America and seen any of the racing over here, and to get guys at the caliber of drivers, as what Jimmy Phelps and Gary Tompkins are, to come over to Australia, it kind of opened our eyes a little bit as to just how good of drivers these guys are, and obviously with good drivers, they're always up in the latest technology, and whenever a driver of that caliber comes over to Australia, they always bring some new technology with them. So it's always a bit of a talking point, and we. Especially when we're back home, we don't like the Americans coming over and beating us, on our home turf. So we try as hard as we can, but unfortunately, I think every time they've been over, they've gotten the better of us. So hopefully next time, in the future, when another modified driver comes over, we'll get their measure.
What's the media coverage like over there? I mean, around here we've got all sorts of columnists and things with Ariel Racing News and with Gator and with Dirt Track Digest and stuff like that. So you're kind of always getting something from some side in terms of media attention. Is it like that back home?
Yeah, there's a fair bit of media around speedway racing in general. Our population, we don't have the population you guys do over here, and what pretty much everything we do back home is all on a smaller scale sort of deal. So there isn't as many media outlets and all that sort of stuff, but it's still the main, just like everything these days. You can find out pretty much whatever you want on the internet, almost straight away as soon as the race is finished. And websites, there's a fair few magazines, kind of similar to Area Auto and Gator News, stuff like that. There's probably 5 or 6 different magazines. Some magazines sort of focus more on, sort of driver profiles and in-depth sort of stories, whereas other ones more or less focus on just the racing results. So there's definitely a bit of attention around. There's in the lead up to big races, they promote it on TV, ads on TV. There's a fair bit that goes on. Just the racing in general isn't to the scale of what it is over here. But they still, the racing scene at home is still pretty strong, and it's still a good night of family entertainment.
Now, be honest. Tell me, is the media over here more annoying than at home?
Yeah.
Come on, tell me. I know what you want to answer, and go ahead.
Well, I met one guy at Syracuse last year that kind of blew me away. I guess he goes by the name Gasket Case. I hadn't really had much of I'd never heard of the guy before. I guess that's kind of how he does his interviews. But I think he started interviewing me, and his first question was, are Americans as dumb as what you think they are? That's what you expected. I'm like, where's this guy going with this stuff? Now I've sort of got a bit more of a backstory on him and kind of realised a bit more what he's like. In terms of annoying, everyone kind of asks the same questions, and racing sort of related questions, and it's all kind of the same thing. I don't really find the media annoying. A lot of guys don't enjoy that part of our sport, but it's the way of the world these days. You want to get your information out there, you want to get your name out there. You got to talk to people. So it's just I don't mind taking a little bit of time out of my day to do that sort of stuff, and hopefully it helps spread the word.
My first exposure to you, Peter, was when Gary Tompkins went over there, and it was the 21A Troyer car and all the hype around Gary going over there to run. That was the first time I really put the pieces together of a modified driver, making the trip over to Australia. And then subsequent to that, you ended up coming here to race, and now you've been spending summers here at the minimum ever since. Take us through what it was like to make the transition to come to New York, and what it is that you do here while you're here, and how much you actually get the opportunity to go back home.
Yeah, it's a lot of work racing over here, and it was a very steep learning curve, definitely. When I come over here for the first time, it was just after I won my first Australian Championship, and we decided we'd like to, because we've seen Jimmy Phelps and Gary Tompkins come over, and we sort of wanted to go over and see what that world was like over there. So we went over for a 2-week period. I believe it was 2009. Midway through your season over here, during our off season, we come over, and very fortunate that the guys over at Troyer and as it was then, H&H helped me out to get over here. We pretty much just built a car, and they supplied us with everything else we needed to go racing, whether it be tools, some crew guys, a hauler to get around in, and that was our first real exposure to American racing. I got to do 5 races, and obviously coming over here, I expected it to be tough. Obviously a lot harder than what it is at home, but it was just the biggest thing that surprised me was the depth of the field. There's your top 5 guys that are very good and very dominant. Maybe top 10 guys at some tracks, but the guys from 10th place onwards are still, for the most part at most tracks, they're still very good racers as well. They may not be the Billy Decker, Jimmy Phelps, those sort of guys, Matt Shepard, but they can still get around the racetrack really good. And so even when I come over here, even racing, back in the pack a little bit, was still, I still had my work cut out for me for sure. And just being exposed to the level of racing that we did. We sort of decided if we were going to come over here and do racing, we were going to go big block racing. It wasn't really something that we wanted to get involved with, doing 358 stuff or, running a sportsman car for a little while and trying to get the feel of it. We kind of decided if we're going to do it, we're going to try and, do everything we can to the best of our ability and try and run with the best, because at the end of the day, if you run with the best guys, it's only going to make you better. So, those 2 weeks, we definitely got a very big learning curve, and it was pretty tough. But, we enjoyed it. We felt we'd like to take up a challenge, and the next year I was lucky enough that Rich Cagliata in the number 8 car, he was looking for a full-time crew guy, and just so it turned out that I was pretty eager to get over here any way I could. So I ended up working out a deal that I'd come over here and work on his cars during the week, and would basically, I'd be his guy at the racetrack, and he raced Friday and Saturdays at Broad and Fulton and did the Super DIRTcar Series, and then I did the Sunday nights at Weedsport. So, that was my first shot at weekly racing, and, the first part of the year at Weedsport was pretty tough. Running the cars over here, you got a lot less traction than what our cars do at home, and, the big blocks make, an extra 250 horsepower than what our small blocks do. So, less traction and more motor, definitely makes a pretty difficult car to drive. So, the first half of the year was a pretty big adjustment period, and we started getting going, pretty decent towards the end of the year. At least we could kind of battle with the guys a little bit. And then, as the years gone by, the last couple of years, I've run the Super DIRTcar Series the last 2 years, and racing with those guys all the time. Even when you're racing at Britten, this year at Albany, Saratoga, and Canandaigua on Saturday nights, there's a lot of good cars there, and it's I got the feeling we're every year we keep getting a little bit better and a little bit better. We've had some really good runs and some pretty big races sometimes, and other times we haven't been quite so good. So just to try and work on that consistency and try and get better, and be really good all the time. That's the aim. We want to come over here and we want to consistently be able to beat those guys. And I'm not saying we're at that level at the moment because we're not quite there, obviously. But the aim is to beat those guys. But I didn't fly halfway around the world to sit here and run fifth to 10th every night for the next couple of years. I mean, we come over here and we want to do well. So that's what we're going to keep trying to do. And it's the team is still in the building processes. We've got a couple of good crew guys now, and our equipment level is where it needs to be at the moment now. And it's a matter of continuously building the team and getting used to racing and keep getting better myself. And I think we're definitely going to have something for these guys this year.
What, in addition to learning the big block, now you've got to learn a completely different animal in the small block, the way that it's set up here, because like you alluded to, the power is different than the small block, like what you run at home. But now you still also got the traction difference with the small block here. What's that learning curve been like, and what do you think of your odds this year on the small block tour?
I guess we're not doing the small block races to go out there and run 5th to 10th. We're going these races to run well, and that's kind of our expectations. To obviously you can't go out and expect to win every race because it's just it ain't going to happen. What we do expect is to at least be in the fight. At least be good enough where we can challenge for the lead, or at least be on that sort of pace as a leader was. Some nights racing, circumstances don't work out your way, then so be it. But we don't want to be out there and just flopping around. So our intentions are to do as well as we can. We can't do all the small block series races because there's at least one clash, and depending on timing of other races, we'll see how many we actually end up doing. But every race that we do make, we're not going there to get a haircut, so to speak. We're going there to win, and we'll be doing everything we can to do that. So in terms of adjusting to the small blocks, it's obviously an adjustment. The setup in the cars is a little bit different. The cars are going to handle a little bit differently, but for the most part, it should be a lot easier to adjust to less horsepower than what it should be to adjust to more horsepower. The small blocks, the couple of times I've ran the small block last year, I think I did a couple of small block series races last year. It was, the cars handle better just because you don't have the weight of a big block right up front there. There's nowhere near as heavy. I think, a small block is between 100 and 150 pounds lighter. So, it's just the car is just a lot better balanced. Your minimum weight for the car is 2350 instead of 2500 for the big block. So cars weighing 150 pounds less, and the cars they're just a better handling car. But in saying that, just because the cars handle better doesn't mean that it's all going to be too easy. I mean, there's obviously a lot of very good competitors that run small blocks consistently, and they got their stuff figured out. So it's going to be our aim to try and get on top of those guys, and like I said, we'll keep pushing to do whatever we can do.
Is there one driver that you've learned the most from?
Yeah, I mean, obviously being very close with the Troyer camp, especially in the early days, I spoke a lot with Jimmy Phelps, and he definitely did I mean, all those guys did, working with Billy Colton, Randy Kosaki, even just, car preps, just making sure your car maintenance is done right. Kurt Weigel, the guy who works on the house cars, he's taught me a lot. I mean, there's no one person necessarily that's helped me, along. I mean, a lot of people have helped me in different areas. So, even racing with Rich Scagliardi, that first year I come over here and crew for him full time, I learn a lot from him and learn a lot, from a crew guy's perspective as well. But, obviously, Jimmy helped me, gave me tips and helped me out whenever he could. I mean, there's only so much someone can tell you. You just got to go out there and drive the thing and learn for yourself at some point. But the tips definitely help, and we feel like we can challenge these guys almost every week now, and that makes us feel pretty good. And it's good to be mixing it up with Jimmy pretty much every week now, where, a couple of years ago, we were kind of, he might be coming around to lap us after about lap 20. At least now, I'm not in his way, and it's good to see the progression that we have made, and obviously very thankful to the guys that have helped us get to where we've got to now, and hopefully we can keep pushing it further.
Do you still have the victory lane sign? I remember a couple years ago there was a story about the victory lane sign, maybe from Brewerton Speedway, that ended up getting sent back home. It was right about the same time as your father's passing, if I recall correctly. Do you still have that, and where is it?
Yeah, we've still got that. It's actually still over here at the moment because we didn't have a container go back last year. But it's just kind of something that we do. Like in Australia, the feature winner board is, you get your photo taken with it, and then the winner takes it home with him. And obviously over here racing weekly, they race. They keep using the sign each week, so I guess they don't do that. But it was just one of those light-hearted conversations with John White, my father. This was a couple of years ago, obviously, and we won the race at Brewerton, and my dad kind of liked the memorabilia side of things, and he always tried to collect even stuff like guys' race car panels that like big name guys. You go into our shop back home in Australia, and there's multiple cars of mine, like different doors that we've had over the years on the wall, and guys from guys we race against as well, like some of the legends back home, and got a couple of panels from over here that we've sent back there. It's he kind of just liked the history and the memorabilia side to speedway racing. So just a light-hearted conversation with him and John White, and he kind of asked whether maybe we could have the feature winner board at some stage, maybe, or at least get a file where we could get a reprint or something like that. And obviously they were still racing at this time during the year, and I mean, I don't know what the answer was from John White, but he didn't. Obviously, we didn't take it straight away then, and then the next year, unfortunately, after my father's passing, John was kind enough and had the idea to present me the feature winner board in front of the crowd there at Brewerton, and it was ours to keep and to take home. So obviously it was a very nice gesture from John White, and something we really appreciate very much. And I'm sure Dad would love to see that thing hanging in the shop at home. And we got a container going back this year with some parts in a few weeks' time, so it's going back in that container. And because obviously a feature winner board is a pretty hard thing to ship, and it's kind of flimsy as well, so we didn't want to ship it back home and have it creased up, and knowing it's the actual feature race winning board from Brewerton, it's he would have loved it hanging in the shop there. He would have every now and then sort of sit back with a beer in hand and look at that, and we actually won a feature race at Merrittville Speedway. So it's just, I don't know, one of those kind of cool things. Some guys get into that sort of stuff, and some guys don't. I mean, my dad never raced himself. He was more of a, he was the guy, young kid that went to the races and watched on the hill, and never really in a position to be able to race. Never had the funds or anything like that. And as he had children, and we got older, we were fortunate enough to get ourselves in a situation where we could afford to start racing, and started off at a low level, sort of entry level class back home, and we just keep progressing up the ranks throughout the year. Throughout our career, and my dad always had the saying that life's a journey, not a destination, and so we always kind of wanted to keep bettering ourselves. Once we get one challenge, what's the next challenge we got to knock off? So and that's that's why we're over here, because this was the next challenge. We sort of conquered Australia to some point, and this was the next challenge. So I guess that's kind of a bit of a story on my old man, and he was a very big part of our racing back home. Because we didn't come from a racing family, we kind of started with us, me and my little brother. We didn't have a lot of crew guys or anything like that, and the racing was kind of just a small time deal for us, and just we went as a family and helped each other out where we could, and we just have one or two guys that come and help, and for the most part it was us that did all the work on the cars. So he's definitely very, very sorely missed, and still feel his presence all the time, even though he's not around. But it's just, I don't know, one of them deals. I guess everyone kind of goes through something in their life that they really wish never happened. But I don't know. I guess that's just life, unfortunately.
I mean, I can hear it in your voice when you're talking about him that he's definitely missed. If you could take us back to that night, what was it like to get that plaque? Was it a bittersweet kind of situation, seeing as how he wasn't able to be there and share it with you?
Yeah, it was. I could barely even make it out there to go out and get it. It was kind of a last minute deal. Well, that I was told anyway. From memory, they just we were there, and I think it might have been Harvey Fink or John White that come over to me. I can't remember. I mean, they were both talking to me at some stage, and they kind of said they had this idea. They wanted to give me the feature race board, and they said that if I'd like, if I'm okay with it, they'd like to do it, on the front straightaway in front of the crowd. But if I wasn't okay with that, then they were just going to give it to me there and then. And I kind of felt that it was a very nice gesture, and for them to give my old man the recognition that they did, I was very grateful for that. I mean, it was pretty hard to walk out there, and it was definitely I could barely keep a straight face, but it was definitely a sweet moment. It was nice to know that those everybody at Broughton actually cared about the whole deal, and they were definitely thinking of us, and they were sort of showing their appreciation, I guess, to my father of what he's done. Even he didn't necessarily do so much for the sport over here, but he's done a lot for the sport back home, and obviously gave me the opportunity and started me off racing over here. So it was good that he got some recognition out of that, and I'm sure he was looking down, smiling proudly.
Well, we certainly wish you the best of luck in Cornwall. But before we let you go, we try to give everybody a chance to recognize some of the folks that have been pivotal in their racing program. We talked a lot about your dad, but I'm sure there's a lot of folks that are with you now that are helping get that car ready that have been crucial to the program. If you want to take a moment to recognize them, by all means, we'd like to hear about them.
Yeah, definitely. My main crew guy, Mike Rhodes, he's pretty much with me wherever we go racing. Same sort of deal over here. I sort of started from scratch over here and didn't really have didn't, as I said, racing was a family operation for us back home, and obviously no family over here. So he's come on board and comes racing with me wherever we go, and late hours at the race shop, and whatever it takes to go racing. So it's I wouldn't be able to do the racing I do and do it as well as I do without him. So it's very grateful for his support. Obviously the support of Troy Race Cars is what helped me get over here in the first place with Billy Colton and them guys. Rich and Randy have done a lot for my career as well. It's kind of, it's almost like a second family I have over here going racing with them. It's it's a lot of fun. We go on the same trailer everywhere we go, and Rich was kind enough to help me out getting my race car to the track, and once again I wouldn't be able to do the touring around that I do to some of these racetracks without his support. So and Randy obviously too. So obviously big thanks to them, and it's there's a lot of people that put this whole deal together. Obviously I run a Troy race car, Penske Shocks, Bob Bruno, and EID Motors. All the equipment I run is second to none, and a big part about being able to be a successful driver is you've got to have a successful package around you, and have confidence in your equipment, know that it's not going to break, and it's going to perform really well. And we definitely have that with all the stuff we use, whether it be the Troy frame, the Penske Shocks, and the Bob Bruno and EID motors. It's we don't really have too many mechanical issues, and that's a big part of racing. So big thanks to all those companies, and obviously my parents, my family is what got us started off over here. So if it wasn't for them, I might be playing cricket back in Australia or something like that. So it's been a great ride so far for me, and hopefully this ride can keep continuing for for years to come, and we can really make something out of it.
We had one question that came in over the live chat that I'm being reminded that I didn't ask you yet. I understand Brian Sipple's got that Derby as part of the program over there Saturday at Canandaigua Motorsports Park, and you wanted to get into one of the Derby cars, I understand, but you got the early departure for Cornwall on Sunday, so you're not able to do it. Brian is wondering if they do anything similar to demolition derbies in Australia.
Yeah, they do. We have demolition derbies, kind of semi-regular. At my home track, Archfield Speedway, which is like 15 minutes from the house, we have they have demolition derbies sort of all the time. My little brother seems to be very good at those races as well. I mean, I've never been in one before, but my little brother, just one night he jumped out of his modified after a feature race, and they had a couple of demo derby cars there, and they were short a couple of drivers, and we know some of the officials there, and one of the officials come up to my little brother and said, "Hey, you want to?" It was actually thinking of it now. It was we had a memorial race for my father back home this year on January 1st, and I was fortunate enough to win the race. And my little brother, I think he ended up 5th or 6th or something, and there was 20 demo derby cars, and he jumped in one of the demo derby cars, and he went out and he was last man standing. So
nice work. Good for him.
That was kind of just one of those weird nights. I managed to get the feature win, and then my little brother went out and won the demolition derby. So it was pretty sure the old man was smiling down on us that night. But I mean we have demo derbies all the time, and I guess something different. You got to do different things every now and then to promote the sport and kind of get different people to say the Canandaigua Speedway that wouldn't normally come out. So I think it's a good thing that Jeremy's doing it, and I'm a little bummed, so to speak, that I can't make it out there. I can't do it, but unfortunately, you can only do so much in this world. You can't do everything. So we got 4 nights of racing this weekend, and that'll definitely keep us busy.
Well, good luck in Malta. Good luck in Canandaigua. Be careful getting up to Cornwall, and wish you the best up there Sunday and Monday on the tour.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. We'll give them hell.
Sounds good. We'll catch up with you when you get back.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. There goes Peter Britten. Good guy to talk to right there.
Yeah, that was that's it's always interesting to hear a different perspective on racing, and without having the population like you mentioned in Australia.
I didn't even think about the population density thing. I mean, just logically, there would be fewer race cars.
Right, but it seems to me that they've got a passion for the same sport we do.
No doubt. No doubt. I mean, that's evident.
He's going to go.
And it's rooted the same. It's rooted the same way too.
Right, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah,
big family. I mean, they run all the same lines, so definitely interesting.
What's your favorite small block track? I mean, if you look historically, Utica Rome at one point was 358s, Fulton was 358s, Ransomville, Merrittville, Black Rock. Do you have one?
I always like watching a show at Black Rock. I enjoy that racetrack.
Why is that?
I think it's a pretty equal racetrack. It's got some decent banking. It's not too big, and it kind of brings the middle of the pack car into play. This similar to what a weed sport would do. The smaller tracks do that, and I don't know what it is about that place. I really there's not one thing. It's not the overwhelming facility. It's not. There's not one particular thing other than the track itself.
Did you go to the races with your dad a lot when he was working?
You remember the old rickety pit steward shack that was open at the top? Right. I spent many of my childhood.
Okay, so you grew up at Black Rock.
I did. I mean, I grew up at Black Rock, Weed Sport, Rolling Wheels, Canandaigua.
Could that possibly have anything to do with why you like watching races there?
I like watching races anywhere. If they threw them in a cornfield next to my house, I would be extremely excited.
They've done that before, but I don't think I should
think
mention.
I think it was Canadian Mat Speedway at the time, back in the early 2000s. It looked like a cornfield, but I just like watching the cars turn laps at Black Rock, and more so than at a weed sport. And I still like watching races at Weedsport. It's another place I grew up.
Not anymore, you don't.
No, but hopefully in the future.
Yes. As Jay's alluded to, there is stuff going on, but they just don't want to do it prematurely.
Right. They're doing things the right way so that they can be successful, unlike some other ventures that have gone in there that haven't been quite so successful. But I would say I enjoy watching a small block race at Black Rock.
Does the small block series need its own tour? Or, excuse me, does a small block division need its own tour given the population density of sportsmen and big block modifieds? That middle ground is continuing to dwindle.
I like watching the small block races. I think it's something that's definitely going to be a dying breed. The maintenance, and we've talked about it on the show before. They're a lot higher maintenance. You're looking at different costs. It's
What's a lot higher maintenance?
A small block motor, from what I mean, and don't listen to me because I don't work with motors. I don't know a damn thing about them, but from what I've been told and what I understand, a small block motor.
I just wanted to make sure we were clear. We weren't saying that the big block was.
No. I'm talking the small block motor. It's got to be freshened more often. It's maybe not as cost efficient to maintain as a big block. It's maybe a little bit less, but what's the cost difference really?
Right.
And with that Sportsman deal being as quote cheap as the motors are, and the package being the same, it's pretty enticing for people getting into it. There's a lot of veteran drivers that are well into a decade of sportsman racing.
Sure.
That obviously they're not going anywhere. That's what they enjoy doing. They're not moving up to a 358.
That's the only option. Is
right. That's what they've got. I mean, in order to jump to a big block, you're talking tens of thousands of more dollars, and that's just not in the cards. And I think even with the small block
or the checkbook,
I think even with a small block, the jump from a sportsman to a small block, you're looking at tens of thousands of dollars. What are you getting back from that? Where is it going? It's going nowhere, which I think is very unfortunate. But I think that's the writing on the wall, and I do enjoy. I don't enjoy the small blocks quite as much as I enjoy the big blocks. But I enjoy watching them, and unfortunately, I think they're going to go away.
It's unfortunate. I like the small block tour too. I mean, and you kind of stole my answer a little bit there, because I was going to say Black Rock as well for a small block track, just because I've had the opportunity to see more small block races there. I've been to Granby, been to Cornwall, Brockville, Ontario Speedway. All those are fun, but there's just something about the way that Black Rock is configured that the small blocks just lended themselves so well to the way that track ran. And I was like Steve Payne, he did just fine anytime he went to Black Rock.
When he was allowed to. Yeah, we're not going. I'm just busting chops. But you're right. It does, in the last couple of years, I've seen some big block shows too. That track seems to fit good racing. Again, taking that.
Sportsmen do great there. I mean, now that's the headline division over there, which I still think the late models could hold their own as well.
I agree.
They got some good support down there.
They've got very good support down in the southern tier, and I think they are a headlining division in the waiting, really.
Yeah, the potential's there definitely, especially some of those southwestern tracks like the track in Jamestown.
Is it Little Valley?
No, Little Valley as well.
Little Valley is one of them.
They've got. I think they are headlined by the late models, and then the track in Busti, but I can't think of the name of the track. It's the same track, like half the tracks and.
Right.
Anyway, that track there, John Blankenship got a win with the World of Outlaws late models there, and that was his first win. That was kind of cool to see him do that. We got to get Matt Williamson on the line. We're running pretty much right on time. We had a great time. We got paid a little bit early and we went a whole half hour with him. So yeah, it worked out great. Matt Williamson's going to be joining us on the line here. There is some, on the topic of Black Rock Speedway, there's some breaking news out of Black Rock Speedway. We've got Bob Miller, the track videographer from Canandaigua Motorsports Park, has now signed a deal, and he is the lead videographer over at Black Rock Speedway. So big congratulations out to him. And on a personal note, Smashed Empire Films will still be filming the two events there, June 1st and November 2nd, for those Demolition Derby shows. So I was happy that we were able to make that line work. There we go. There's the name. Just the owner comes in for us on live chat. State Line Speedway is that track over there in Jamestown. I could not for the life of me think of that. Woodhull Raceway, another good small block track. Merrittville Speedway, another one that was regular with the small blocks. Fulton at one point had the 358s, all good tracks, but I don't know what it is. There was just something about watching those small blocks run at Black Rock that was special, and having seen so many races over there, having worked for the track partially, between the small blocks and then with the 360 sprints when they were the headline division over there. There was just something about that when watching those small blocks go around, and it's something that I miss. Of course, with the tour going up there to Cornwall first and then heading over to Merrittville Speedway, and we'll get into this a little bit here when we get Matt Williamson on the line, talk a little bit about Pete McNell, who's won a gazillion track championships there at the Merrittville Speedway. So we'll have to touch base on that, see if Matt has been able to pick any details up from Pete McNell and his experience over there at Merrittville Speedway. Looks like we got Matt. Is Matt in the soundboard now, as close as we're going to get to it?
I think so.
Matt, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. I was a little nervous that maybe things weren't going to work out. Good. Well, I mean, tell us a little bit about getting ready for the 358 Super DIRTcar Series opener, first at Cornwall and then the race the following night at Merrittville.
Yeah, I mean, this is quite the weekend that we got ahead of us. We go Lernerville on Friday, just a regular night there for us, and then Merrittville regular night on Saturday, and then, of course, Super Dirt Series race in Cornwall Sunday and Super Dirt Series race at Merrittville on Monday. So a lot of preparation goes into this weekend, and a lot of time in the car on the way to the racetrack. So I'm not looking forward to that part, but, I mean, it's always good racing, so I'm excited.
Where does this doubleheader fall? I mean, as busy as the weekend is, now you've got Sunday and Monday to open the tour. How important is running well at Cornwall to set things up for Merrittville?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. If you don't run good at Cornwall and you got to run the next day at Merrittville, it's definitely a bummer. So, like you said, it set things up for that Monday night show, and I'm looking to go there and hopefully run pretty good and follow it up the next night at Merrittville. But, that's a whole lot of lady luck on your side, and sometimes it can fall the other way. So usually we're pretty good at Cornwall, so hopefully we don't have any bad luck, and we can come out of there with one piece and hopefully look forward to Merrittville.
Is this your year on the 358 tour? You're running the whole thing?
Yeah, we're going to follow the whole series this year, and hopefully we can win the thing. I mean, we finished second to Dale last year and second to Pete at Merrittville points last year, and actually the last 4 years to Pete. So, I mean, hopefully we can win one of these things one of these times.
How much do you stand to learn from running weekly with Pete Bicknell and being an intimate with the Bicknell Racing Products family the way that you are?
I mean, I learn every day. Every day I go to work and I learn a new thing. So that definitely helps. I mean, when you race with the best, you got to race with the best to be the best, they say. So racing with Pete weekly, it definitely teaches you a few things. I mean, I'm still learning. You know, when we follow the tour, we race with Danny Johnson and Hearn and Shepard and all them guys. So it's definitely a learning curve. I still learn every time I go out on the racetrack, learn something new. And I mean, for instance, last year we were leading at Cornwall at one of the Super Dirt Series races there, and Danny was running second, and I was running the top, and I think we had a straightaway until we caught lap traffic, and I knew we were coming up on him fast, but I didn't know how fast, and I kept seeing Danny poke his nose on the bottom, and I knew that once we got to lap traffic, I'd be screwed if I was up on the top because everybody was running the top, so I kind of went to the bottom, and next thing you know, the doctor went right around me, so we went into tech, and Danny was kind of laughing about it, how he baited me to the bottom, and, you know, it's just little things like that you learn every time you go out on the racetrack.
You're laughing over there. What do you mean?
I am laughing. It's just funny that it's funny to hear another driver, you know, talk about how Danny...
With the Danny Johnson story?
Yeah, with the Danny Johnson story where he's just kind of toying with a guy,
yeah,
and then waits till he finds his spot.
Cat's got the mouse by the tail and just batting him around a little.
There's lots of stories like that with Danny.
Yeah, there's a lot of seat time underneath that rear end, so he's definitely got the experience to take advantage of that.
Yeah, exactly. He knows a whole lot when it comes to these race cars.
What's the preparation to get ready for a weekend like this? You've got your weekly stuff you need to pay attention to, but at the same time, for somebody like yourself who finished second in points last year at both the local track and on the 358 Tour, who's hoping to turn things around and take that next step and become either the track or the Tour champion, what's it like to get all of that together for the same span of 4 or 5 days?
It's a lot of work. I mean, I took today away from the shop and kind of spent the day at the race shop today, so did tires all day and, you know, worked on race cars all day, so hopefully, just do that stuff to try and get ahead of it and prepare for whatever you might need be, so it's a lot of work. If anybody's thinking about following this tour, I mean, just be prepared that you're going to have to spend a whole lot of time in your race shop to keep up and run good, so.
Do you ever get tired of looking at that number 42?
All the time. All the time. I mean, especially when you're leading. Merrittville's got like a lap board where you're going down the back straightaway and you can see like top 5. And we were leading the opener there, and you could see it was like my number, another guy's number, another guy's number, another guy's number 42. Next thing you know, it was my number, another guy's number 42. Then it was my number 42, and you know he's coming. But I mean, it's I'm tired of it, really.
Is there anything, you know, as much as you're tired of it, and you know it kind of gets a little bit monotonous watching the same thing occur every week, you know, is there any solace in the fact that you're following, you know, one of the best to ever sit in the seat, especially at that track, the experience and the things that you can learn just by following what he does?
Yeah, I mean, especially growing up, I mean, if I was 40 years old and he was still beating me, I'd be pretty upset. But, I mean, for the age I'm at right now and to run second to Pete, I mean, I'm all right with that, you know. I mean, we got a lot of work to do before we can get the knowledge that he has and to run like he does, you know. But I just hope that this is our year, that we can take advantage of his little mistakes. And the hardest part is that he doesn't make mistakes that cost him a point here or a point there. You know, there's never a DNF when it comes to the race cars. They always finish races, and that's the stuff that wins points championships. You know, so if you get one DNF at Merrittville, you know you're out of the points time already. So we got to just make sure that our stuff is right, and there's not a bolt that's loose on our race cars, and our tire preparations are good, and you know, the motor's running right, and hopefully we don't get any DNFs, and then we'll see where it sits in September. But until then, if I worry about what he's doing too much, it'll hurt my program. So I'm kind of focusing on what we're doing, and hopefully we'll be there in the end.
When you look at the 358 modified tour, you've got all the big block invaders who aren't necessarily in there going for a title, but they've got enough nights, so they're going to come over and put the small block in there. How does that change your approach? Because now you've got everybody that's running the small block tour that you have to beat, but you've also got to contend with the best in the business that have crossed over out of the big block ranks and come over to the 358.
Yeah, they're the best in the business. I mean, if you go to a 358 race and all them guys are there and you run good, you know you've earned it. If you go to a 358 series race and none of those guys are there and you run good, it's not so achieving. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you just got to make sure that. I mean, they put their pants on the same way that I do. So you can't let it intimidate you too much, and it kind of does. You know, it can't get away from it. I grew up watching Brett Hearn race and Danny Johnson, Pete Becknell. So I'm a little starstruck when I get in a race car and I can race side by side with them guys. But we'll see what happens this weekend.
What are you looking forward to most in getting over to Cornwall?
I love the racetrack. You know, it's racy. There's never a night at Cornwall, depending on how. I mean, no matter how bad the racetrack is, that you can't race side by side and you can't pass race cars. It's fast. It's pretty high banked, short little bull ring, and makes for great short track racing.
Is that the type of track you prefer, or do you like something that's a little bit wider and flatter, longer?
I like the tracks like Cornwall, but I always run better at tracks like Rolling Wheels and like when we went to Michigan. So in my head, I like the short tracks, but my pocketbook likes the long tracks.
Do you like the small block style of racing? We talked a little bit with Pete Britten, who was on earlier, who's got real high hopes for the opener up there at Cornwall. Talked about the differences between, you know, the increase in horsepower and the decrease in traction that you have in running in the Northeast with the big block modified, and then the subsequent changes when you move over into the 358. Do you like the 358 style of racing, or do you prefer big block? You know, where's your heart lie?
I like 358 racing just because I grew up doing it. I certainly am getting accustomed to this big block stuff. I like the ability to have the horsepower to pass race cars, and it takes a little bit more of a driver to race a big block than it does a small block. Just because, like you said, the tractions, it's a little bit harder to hook up a big block than it is a small block, and it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen the other, really. Some racetracks, it's really wicked to have a big block and have that 900 horsepower, but some tracks like Merrittville for the big block race, it's a little bit better to have a small block, and it's more of an advantage to run a small block. So, I mean, we'll see at the end of the year what I like better, depending on how many wins we get or how many wins we don't get in both. So
what did you like better at the end of last year?
I only ran a big block once last year, so.
Oh, I thought you were in it more than that.
Kind of. No, just I run one once at Michigan last year, and we were supposed to do Charlotte, but that deal fell through, and so I was pretty excited to come to this year and run one weekly.
So where do from here? I mean, after you get through this weekend, you take a breath and next week and take a little bit of downtime, or is it all dependent on how things go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday?
Yeah, I mean, if we run good all this weekend, I'm thinking maybe Utica next Monday. I'm not sure, you know. We just moved our race shop this week, so I'm kind of getting settled in here. And
you move your race shop?
Good. Yeah, we're renting a place for the last 3 months. My parents just bought a house, so nice shop in the backyard, and we moved that yesterday. So it's been a long week. It's good timing, actually, with this weekend coming up. So,
in terms of the season-long view, you know, big picture, how much easier is it going to be having the shop so close to home and not having to worry about someplace that you're renting?
Yeah, it's definitely easier. You know, you can get up in the middle of the night when you're thinking about something. You can go out to the shop and do it, and you can spend so much time working on your own race car than than anything else. Instead of sitting on the couch doing nothing, you could actually be out in the shop and making yourself better and getting to know your race car more. So it's definitely a big advantage. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to help our race team and organization, so it'll be good, hopefully.
So what have you got in this race shop now that it's close to home? Because if you're getting up in the middle of the night, this has got to be just like, man cave central.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice man cave. We don't got no TVs yet, but it'll come. Some couches will come, but I mean, my brain's not a normal brain. I just get up and I start thinking, and I can't sleep. So I'll go out to the race shop and I'll do whatever I'm thinking about, and so it'll help, though, hopefully.
What middle of the night brainstorm has proved to be the most successful? None of them yet. So, all right. So we'll look at the other flip side of that. And I won't tell anybody. So you can tell me this, and I won't let anybody else know. What's been the biggest bust that you go out there and you're like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to go set the world on fire, and you get to the track and you are absolutely out to lunch? What was the biggest change that you did in the middle of the night that turned out to be something that you regret doing altogether?
A lot of them have to do with shocks and stuff like that. You just start thinking about shocks and can't sleep, so go out and look at dyno sheets and that stuff like that. But I mean, a lot of them are tires, the way you sipe tires. And we come out one night and we thought we were going to set the world on fire with what we were doing with our tires, and the way we were siping them, we never broke an edge and spent 8 hours siping a tire, and went out and run like shit. So I mean, it definitely doesn't pay off sometimes, but hopefully one of these times it'll pay off. We can knock 3 or 4 wins off before anybody finds out about it.
So you spent 8 hours siping a set of tires. Now, how much did the tires cost?
One tire.
Just one
hours.
tire. Okay. So you had 8 hours siping one tire. How much did that tire cost? $250?
$180.
$180. And how many laps did that tire get before you never looked at that tire again?
Probably about 50.
Well, at least you got some use out of it, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not like you went out and ran a heat race and said, I'm done with that. 8 laps in, and that thing's off to a sportsman guy.
Yeah, exactly.
What we asked Peter Britten what the challenges were, at the border. A little different for him being that he's from Australia, comes to the United States, and then he's got to run up into Canada and get through the border. That's something that you guys would do frequently, coming down, into New York, or if you're going to run down into PA. Do you guys ever face any challenge at the border coming from the north side headed south?
No, usually it's pretty good. This weekend it might be a little different just because it's a long weekend. Got to expect a little bit longer delays and stuff like that. But I mean, going over is pretty good, and coming home is usually the worst part. A lot of times they'll bug me about stuff that we've done in the past, trying to get beer across in the trailer, stuff like that. But usually it's pretty good. 15 minutes usually approximately is our wait. But I mean, sometimes it's a little longer. Sometimes you pull right up, say hello, and where you're from, and you're right through. So,
how much can you fit in a trailer with a stop at duty free?
Oh, you can fit a lot. Not listening to this.
What's that? You hope they're not listening to this? Oh, they won't. Nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody listens to this. You don't have anything to worry about.
They're not listening. No worries. It's probably just the 3 of us, to be honest with you.
Don't tell him that. Because Julia Foy worked really hard at setting this thing up, and we tell him it's only the 3 of us. Listen, through the 3 of us here, he's going to be like, I'm not going to waste my time next time. Especially after he sweeps the weekend and scores all those wins, and his midnight brainstorm that he hasn't had yet is the one that sets the world on fire. We don't want to ruin that.
So, Matt, I'm lying. There's like 300 of us.
You can call me anytime.
Nice.
What's the track that you want to race at the most that you haven't had the chance to yet?
I think Lebanon Valley, to be honest with you.
Really?
I just Lebanon Valley or New Egypt. I ran New Egypt in hot laps in the heat one time, and I was running for Mike Isles, and he ended up wrecking his car in the heat, and we had to give up the ride. But there, and I mean, Lebanon Valley is one of them fast places. It's like Syracuse with banking to me, but
it's a good comparison.
racetrack.
That's a real good comparison. Syracuse with banking, and the stone dust grit stuff that comes off there does the same thing to the engines too.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
You alluded to New Egypt, and that's an interesting one to me. I mean, and now they're running 358s out there. It's not the same small block combination of what you're accustomed to, but is that something that you'd like to get out there and try if you get an off weekend up there?
Yeah, I think they got that Brett Dios and Stuart Friesen's putting on that Super Dirt Series race. I think we're going to try and make it for that race. I mean, as long as everything goes right, that would be pretty cool to hit that one up.
Do you know Stu at all?
Yeah, I've hung out with Stu the odd time. I mean, he can certainly wheel a race car.
He picked up a win this weekend at Utica Rome.
5,000.
Not a bad payday. Not bad.
That's a good payday.
Beyond this, we talked a little bit about running weekly. We talked a little bit about the tour. You alluded to the big block race over there in New Jersey. Where else are we going to be able to see you run through the course of the season? Are you going to try and hit any of those independent specials, or are you going to pretty much stay strict to the dirt car program, be it big blocks or small blocks?
We're certainly going to do all the dirt races first. We're going to hit up all the 358 tour races. Probably most of the big block races, I think I can't go to two. There's schedule conflicts on them. But there, Lernerville, Merrittville, Humberstone, and we're definitely going to try and hit up some of these ROC races and maybe Grandview for the 76er, but I'm not sure what we're going to do yet. Kind of playing it by ear, and we'll hit as many races up as we can.
Just in listening to you list those off, we've got ROC, we've got the 76er. If you go to that, you've got dirt big block, dirt small block. You've got outside of the dirt fold, big block. How many different engine combinations do you have for the cars that you have in the shop?
Right now, we only have a dirt big block and we have a dirt small block 2350 motor. But, I mean, I don't know what we can do for the 76er. I think we'll just run our small block with a 750 or something like that. And, we got to look at rules for sure. That's a big thing before we go to a racetrack. But it's pretty good because as long as you got a small block and a big block, you can usually get away. Big blocks are basically all the same. Small blocks, there's a lot of rule changes, but what we have is on the legal side of everything. So it's pretty basic. So I think with what we've got here in the shop, we can hit up all those races and not have to worry about changing too much besides carburetor and maybe intake. But.
So you're looking at a schedule probably somewhere in the neighborhood of between 80 and 100 races.
Yeah, I had 84 races on the schedule, but we've already missed I think 4 of them. So we'll see. I mean, once we get into the new shop and get everything settled down, we can definitely go racing more often. So that's a good thing.
Priority 1 is getting those TVs hooked up, right?
Yeah, and the couches.
Yep, comfortable couches.
Yeah.
You ever fire the motor up at 3 a.m.?
No, I have never done that. I don't think my new neighbors would like that too much.
I don't know. There's one woman to find out.
Yeah, I met the new neighbor today. He seemed all right. He might like the big block at 3 a.m.
There you go.
Just invite him over, and then it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Crack
He's
open.
a gardener for a living, so I don't know how it will go over.
Well, the big block's not going to hurt the flowers.
I mean, small block might. But.
Crack open some of that duty-free loot. You'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, is there anybody that you want to mention, any sponsors that you want to give mention to, or let everybody know where they can find you on between all the social media outlets and internet and fan pages and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Twitter at Williamson6, MattWilliamson.com. I'd like to thank all my sponsors, S&W Service Center, R&B Restorations, Champion Oil, Bicknell Racing Products, Optional Hose and Hydraulics, Keegan Forklifts, Jason Enterprises. I mean, couldn't do it without all these guys. My crew, for sure. I mean, this weekend I'll be abusing them, so I got to thank them. My parents, my grandparents, all my relatives, you know.
The new neighbors.
Sister, everybody has put up with me.
The new neighbors.
The new neighbor, for sure.
Yeah, and my new neighbors. Thank you for for when I fire this motor up at 3 o'clock and they don't call the police.
Well, Matt, we sure appreciate it. We wish you the best of luck all weekend long. You got your work cut out for you, but hopefully you hit on something sometime between now and then, and you can go collect a bunch of checkered flags.
All right, perfect. Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
We'll catch up with you soon, Matt.
All right, talk to you later.
Thanks. There goes Matt Williamson. Good kid. Good kid, and he is. If you're gonna pick a driver, he's one of them that you should be thinking about in terms of winning that 358 Tour Championship. He looked so good last year, and Dale Plank is as good as Matt looked. Dale Plank looked just as good and that much better.
Just that much better. You know, I just came to the realization that this chair is a recliner.
You didn't know that?
No.
Seriously.
I've been out of it for too long.
Well, that is true. That is true.
How quickly we forget.
Yeah, you've knocked that chair back a couple times by accident, and in turn knocked that that camera out a couple times.
Yeah. Like I said, how quickly we forget.
Yeah, Mike knows it's a recliner. You should see him get nestled down in there. There's been a couple times where I thought we were going to lose him.
You might have.
Well,
he just closed his eyes for a couple minutes.
Yeah, he nods off a little bit.
That's why he talks so much while he's here. So
it's hard for me to
awake.
tell he's asleep because I got the glare off his...
Well, same deal here.
Not a lie.
Thanks, Chris.
You got anybody lined up for next week yet?
No.
We got to see how this goes. We might have these same two guys back.
We fly by the seat of our pants here, Chris.
We do. Well, actually,
the
last couple of weeks we've been trying very hard.
We've been leaning very hard on Julia Foy.
Julia's been doing a great job for us, and maybe she'll be able to come up with something else.
And if not, maybe she can come sit down. We'll interview her.
I talked a little bit with Jeff about that. He said she said she's not a good media personality. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me at all because you work in media relations. You have to have some sort of microphone savvy. She told me that she was going to watch tonight, so I'm going to have to keep an eye on my email tomorrow to see if she tuned in. But Pete did a great job. Got some great stuff out of him. Interesting discussion about that the meaning of the winners board.
Yeah, that's an interesting little, here it's the trophy or the plaque, whatever it may be. In Australia, it's the feature win board.
Well, I'm sure they get trophies too, but
I'm sure they do. But
above all, it's the money.
Well, yeah, the check is the big part at any racetrack.
The casual one, not the novelty.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, they don't care about the novelty one. That's for the wall. That's to cover the hole in the shop wall. But it's interesting to see the difference. We just disregard that feature win sign is the thing that's laying under the flag stand all night long until somebody wins, and they don't. They keep it. So it's interesting to see those little differences.
And then Matt, him talking about all the different races he plans on hitting. We've had this conversation with other teams before. Matt Shepard's talked about this. Stu Friesen is obviously in that situation. A little bit different scenario for Stu because he got so many different rides out there.
Right.
Bobby Varon kind of plays that in-between role. Matt's a small team unto himself who's looking at doing a lot of different rule sets.
And by all accounts, he does all of them well.
Yeah, he does just fine.
He does just fine.
He's automatically got the deck stacked against him because he's running at the home track that's owned both figuratively and metaphorically by Pete McDowell. I mean, the family owns that track, and he just has such a lockdown on that 358 combination.
Yep.
When he was at Ransomville, he was just as good. And running up there in Merrittville, he's won, like Matt alluded to, he's won the last gazillion in a row.
Yep. And it doesn't look like there's, hopefully
no
for
signs
Matt's
of slowing.
sake, he puts it together and gets after it. But, it's kind of like watching Steve Payne at Black Rock and Canandaigua for years.
Well, Steve was doing just fine up in Canada for a while, too,
Mm-hmm.
but he was doing it on the other side. He wasn't over on the western part of the New York-Canada border. He was way up north, up 81, over into Granby. I think he ran there, and the one in Cantley. Drummondville, I think.
Drummondville.
He had the summit number 1, if I recall, when he was up there, which was he had a great deal. I mean, he had a great deal up there. But I mean, it was nice to have that homecoming when he came out to Black Rock.
Yep.
and from there, history was rewritten in terms of Dundee Raceway.
Oh yeah, several times, yearly actually.
Yeah, no doubt.
For a lot of them.
That is for sure.
So,
well, live chat stayed pretty quiet tonight. I was surprised, but Brian Sipple has been sending in text messages. I don't know if there's an issue with live chat or what, but he's opted for the cell phone. versus what was going on in the live chat.
He's got direct connect.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got the hotline. He's going to be a busy boy Saturday over at Canada. Canada was kind of busy night all across the board.
Good luck for all of them. I will be kicking back and relaxing.
Doing what?
Nothing.
Right.
Precisely nothing. I tried that a couple weeks ago. It didn't work out. We're going to shoot for it again.
Actually, Saturday is the Celtic Festival. Ben Beavers was on the Viral Spiral with us last.
I know Ben well.
You know Ben?
Yeah, I know Ben.
Really?
I've done a lot of security work with Ben in the past.
Are you going to the Celtic Festival?
Debatable. My wife's got a highly busy schedule, so
Right.
I'm trying to figure out where we're at with that, and I may snatch up the kids and take off.
Yeah, my wife and I, and we may bring Alan. I don't know yet if we're going to or not, but he's got a lot of stuff going on over there at Ben's
Face
barn.
painting and bounce houses. And
He's got a caber toss.
Yeah.
That, if you do go, I want to bring one of the cameras and tape you doing a caber toss.
I am not tossing anything.
You need to toss a telephone pole,
No.
which is pretty much what that is.
It's exactly what that is.
And you need a kilt.
It's not
Saturday, he showed me that he was wearing a kilt in all traditional means.
Yes, that would be Ben's style. Yes, he doesn't do anything half-assed, man.
Nope, that
Nothing.
was full ass when he jacked that thing
That's
up.
kind of what I was getting at.
Oh, it was gross as hell. It was ridiculous.
No, but he definitely, if you get a shot at it, that's a heck of a good time.
But he's been on the Viral Spiral a number of times with P-Spot Ted, who's a host every other Sunday of the music show that we have here on Finger Lakes 1. He's been on a bunch of time. The first episode, which is basically a lost episode because something happened and we pretty much lost everything, he made a world record bid to set a time record, a speed record, in how fast a human could consume a half gallon of ice cream.
Oh, dude, he can eat.
And
Pretty sure he's won wing eating championships.
oh
man.
yeah, he's talked about that.
He does okay for himself there.
He was upset that KFC's new marketing campaign is "I ate the bones" because he did it first.
And didn't even know it until it was.
Yeah, it was
long,
accidental.
long ago. Yeah.
That's how he lost his ring finger.
I ate the bones.
Yeah, he did. In any case, well, the Celtic Festival, you may
Good
or may
time.
not be there. Yeah, we're going to make the
time.
trip over there. That should be fun. Look forward to that. And one of my favorite local bands, they're from Ithaca, Technicolor Trailer Park, is going to be playing. So we'll get the chance to see them. And they have
Interesting
music. Oh my God, they have music that starts. I mean, they it's like 3 days long. They start at 8 in the morning Friday, and it concludes at some point when they all pass out Sunday.
Yeah, and then it continues like that daily. You know, they all pass out.
No,
one night.
Sunday. I mean, it's going to be continuous.
Yeah,
There's gonna be
yeah,
something on that stage the whole time. Did you see his new throne? I mean, we're getting off
No,
topic here. I mean,
I have not seen the throne.
He's completed construction of the throne, and then he's got Barn Bash that comes up at the end of September, and it's pretty much the same thing, only without the Celtic theme. It's going to be just music and debauchery and party and all that other fun stuff.
Good thing to do before going to the racetrack.
Yes.
It's a great start.
Is it or after? I don't know how to.
Whatever, both.
Yeah,
Go
if you're gonna go, bring a driver.
Absolutely, because you're
not a race car driver. Well,
you could.
You get the theme. You know, be safe.
Don't get a DWI. Bottom line.
Yeah. Long story short.
What do you got going on?
Smashed
Empire Films. What are you doing?
Smashed Empire Films is
what's next?
I'm home, but Saturday we got a derby in Boston or in Brockton, Massachusetts, which is outside of Boston. So we've got that. That's the Boston Tea Party where gentlemen come to get wrecked. That's and then Memorial Day we're off. That is the Bash for Cash out in Ohio, but we're not doing that one. Our friends out from Illinois, Cheater Videos, they've got that. And then let's see, June 1st is the big kickoff. That's Metal Destruction in Cuba, which is where I'm going to be with Wayne Ellison. We're going to be taping that with a whole bunch of in-cars. They got the Weld class, 3,500 to win, 1,200 to win stock, 1,200 to win compacts, and then the big thing that they've added this year is the Battle of the Border. They've got 4 compact cars from Canada, 4 compact cars from New York, and 4 compact cars from Pennsylvania. It's a team derby. Last man standing wins, but they got a team set up. That same day is the derby at Bob Miller's new Friday night videotaping grounds, Black Rock Speedway. So we're going to be taping Steve Bucknam from New Hampshire, who covers all the New England stuff for Smashed Empire Films, is going to come down to Black Rock and cover that while I'm in Cuba. So we've got 2 derbies the same day, and that'll really kick things off, even though it'll be another 35 days before our next show after Cuba and Black Rock. We're off from there. We're off until the second week of July at the Yates County Fair. Oh no, that's not true. Steve's going to be doing the Northeast Championships in Brockton the last week of June and the first week of July. They got a whole 4, 5, 6 night qualifying procedure with redneck racing and derby car drag racing and elimination motorsports and stuff like that back up at the Brockton Fairgrounds. They got 4 or 5 shows up there, and the Wood Boogers is the promotion company that hosts that. And
The Wood Boogers?
The Wood Boogers. Jim and Eileen, they're pretty good friends, and they take real good care of Steve, and they've been really good to me when I've been up there. And it's just the difficulty in the schedule with work here. As busy as the season is, it's difficult for me to break away to do the stuff that I do already. So somebody like Steve Bucknam, who's willing to cover those events and still make that happen so that we can have that foothold is real nice, and I will take advantage of his willingness to help at any point. He said he's going to do a whole bunch of shows, and he'll just get me the footage, and we'll put it together from there. So
solid.
It's busy, but it's spread out right now. Wait till the second week of July when we have one. I think it breaks down to being we have a derby something like every 5 days. There's Yates County Fair, then there's Seneca County Fair, there's the Keystone Nationals. Local. Keystone Nationals in Brookville, Pennsylvania is the same night as championship night at Waterloo. Then Tuesday night is the Chautauqua County Fair. After that, then the Broome County Fair, and then back in Chautauqua.
Good God.
After that. So it's fun. All over the place. Miles traveled.
That's crazy. crazy. All to wreck cars.
Obviously. I know everybody gives me guff. It's like
it's fun.
I mean,
they're fun.
I catch all sorts of flack and stuff on here. We shouldn't be talking about that stuff on
here. Who cares? Well, it's a motorsport.
It's combative motorsports.
Yes.
Elimination motorsports.
When
we were out in Illinois, there were cars out there in Illinois. Bobby Brockway's car had probably as much into it as a sportsman car had into it. And his lasted one night.
And that's it. Done.
That's it. Pull the motor and crap back out of it because you got another car coming. But that car right there is off to the scrapyard.
That amazes me that you're spending money like that and you get one night.
Yeah, but I mean that team derby, you had 4 team members. If the winning team took home $8,000, split that 4 ways, you get $2,000 each. It doesn't touch it. I mean the bolt-on stuff that you can reuse, as long as your rear end's okay,
right.
Your tires are okay, your drive shaft, your tranny protector, your fuel tank. Most times your roll cage can be taken out and put in, and if you're common running, like in his case, he always runs Crown Victorious. He knows how to put that cage in and out, and it's an interchangeable cage. Quick. So that part's all done. Engine protector, engine transmission or cradle, the engine cradle, the distributor protector, all that stuff is all. Once you've got it, and you don't have to change it.
You don't just yank these things out of the junkyard and beat the hell out of them.
Not anymore.
What the heck?
Did I tell you about the engine change?
Yes, you did tell me about the engine change. That's.
Less than 2 hours in the pits in the rain to get a car from knocking to a fresh motor and transmission in it and running was pretty impressive.
For a demo.
Yeah. What do I know?
You know nothing.
I don't.
In case you haven't been told lately.
No.
I just want you to feel like I feel when people tell me I know nothing.
Hey, it fits. Oh, wow. The numbers have not dropped nearly as fast as I thought they were going to in live chat when we got in that course of conversation.
No?
No, because there wasn't anybody in there to begin with.
Oh, well, there we go.
Yep.
Don't say that.
Oh.
Matt won't come back.
Stay tuned to the 31stlap.com. Stay tuned to the 31st Lap Facebook page. Go like it. Let us know who you want to see, who you want to talk to. We'll certainly have updates there as we move forward. I'm not sure who we're going to have on the show next week, but we'll definitely have a show. We'll be here for sure. Rich might be here now that he's done with school.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't want to get too crazy.
Hopefully Jay can make it back. It'd be good to see him again.
Mallet,
Mallet's not going to be here. No, he's got a couple more weeks of that. That's going to do it for this edition of the 31st Lap. We'll see you back here next week.
Shalom, Balmus.
There you go.
www.fingerlakes1.com